Hi everybody, welcome to Myofascial Release. Today we're going to be working with tennis balls to help release some of the tension in our bodies that gets stored up as we live our daily lives. So if at any point when we go through class you feel like it's moving too fast or you reach a point where your body is saying yes and you would like to pause, please feel free to pause the video and explore that area as much as you would like to before pressing play again and moving on. Thanks for joining me. I'm so glad you're here. Hey everybody, welcome to day one. Today we are going to be exploring myofascial release using tennis balls on our feet and the backs of our legs. So grab your tennis balls. You can also use any other smaller round objects that are soft and hit those oh so juicy points. But we're going to start with one. So bring it down to your mat and let's start with our left foot. So just begin by placing your tennis ball underneath your left foot and just rolling your foot around. You'll notice that certain spots are a little louder in sensation than others. You want to remember what those spots are, but for now we're just getting familiar with the bottom of our foot. And you'll notice that there are kind of three sections to the bottom of your foot. So if this were my foot, this is my inner arch, there's the middle of my foot, and the outer edge. So some of those will be more sensitive than others, but I want you to pick a spot in one of those three strips towards the front of your foot, just under the ball of your foot, and go ahead and just pause there. Bring your heel down to your mat, and you can even shift your weight gently forward to lean into that spot. You'll know you've got a good spot when there's a really sharp sensation that might make your lips pucker or your eyes twitch a little bit, but what I need you to know is that it should be a little sharp, it should be uncomfortable, but not really painful. So if it's too sensitive, ease off or find another spot. And just breathe into this. Nice, deep, calming breaths. Myofascial release, that sharp sensation is from the buildup of fibers on the fascia between the muscle bundles. It's what helps your muscles glide past each other. Over time, that limited range of motion or muscle stiffness can come from that buildup of fibers. So we're releasing that in order to have muscles that do their thing a little bit better. If you notice the tension start to fade away, just gently ease off, find another spot, and maybe move into one of the different three sections or towards the heel of your foot a little bit more. As the ball moves towards the back of your foot, you can press the ball of your foot towards the mat and lean into it, only so far as is a good release, a good kind of pain, I guess. And again, intentional breathing into this. When we experience sharp sensations like this, oftentimes our body's reaction is to tense up because our brains are wired to move away from pain. So really just kind of ease into it. Allow yourself to melt around the tennis ball. We're going to take another deep breath here. And then gently ease off, transfer to the other foot. Just begin by rolling around, noticing where those different points are. And finding one of those spots that says yes right here. Gently leaning into the tennis ball, pressing your heel towards the ground or the ball of your foot, depending where it is on the bottom of your foot, and breathing. There are a lot of little muscles in our feet that do a lot of work that we don't always recognize. So you may be surprised at how sharp this sensation is. So let's gently roll it around again. Find another spot. Mine's at the back of my foot, so I'm going to press the ball of my foot into my mat and lean into it, press down on the ball so that I can hit that sweet spot. This is really great to do at your desk too during the day if you work at a desk. All right, let's gently ease off of that and we're going to come down to the mat. And for the next section, I like to use a block for a lot of it. So if you don't have a block, you can use a really big book or just the ground beneath you. But we're going to start with the calf muscle, and I like to place the block directly under my calf, and I start lower down towards the section just above that tendon at the back of your ankle. You can roll the ball from side to side. Again, there are different sections of muscle, so rolling it from side to side will help you identify where the most tension is stored up. And then when you find a spot, go ahead and pause and breathe into it. If you want to add a little more pressure, you can take the other foot and gently press down and just breathe into it. Again, if you notice the sensations start to fade away, that's generally because you've released a lot of that fiber buildup in your fascia, and you can move to a different spot. So we're going to stay here for the next several breaths, and as the sensation begins to fade, you can just gently move the tennis ball a little further up your leg towards your knee. Some spots are more sensitive than others. So again, just allow your breath to be your reminder to intentionally release into the sensation, remain connected to the physical sensation, and feel your body melt around the tennis ball. This one's a really tight one for me. Let's hold here for one more breath. And then we're going to gently release and move up one more time, still remaining on the calf muscle. We're now just under the back of the knee. So just roll it from side to side. You can rotate your hip to hit the outer edges. Find that spot, the yes spot, and pause here to breathe into it. Again, do a quick body scan while you're here. Notice if there are other places in your body that are tensing up to make up for the sharp sensation. Know that this is completely normal. Again, your brain is wired to move away from anything that is interpreted as pain or potentially painful. So it's your body's internal protection mechanism kicking in. And your breath is a really great way to remind yourself that it's okay. You're not in any danger, and to just release into the sensation. All right, we're going to slowly ease off and move up to the upper leg. So bring the block underneath your thigh and place the ball just above your knee. And again, you can move from side to side. If your block is a little too high at this point, you can just bring your leg directly onto your mat. And once you find that spot, pause and breathe into it. There are a lot of points along your body. For this series, we're just going to focus on the back of the body, but if you're a runner, another really great place on your lower body to do this is along your IT band on the outside of your leg, which is oftentimes very, very tender, so take it slowly. All right. We're going to do one more on the back of the leg. And you can stop here in mid-thigh, or if you sit a lot, another great spot is to actually bend your knee and roll your tennis ball just under the point between your mat and the back of your leg. And then extend your leg all the way out and down onto your mat. You can lean forward into this, or again, you can bring your other leg on top to apply a little bit of pressure here. And breathe. As we move through this, if there's a spot that you want to spend a little more time on, feel free to pause the video and spend as much time as you need before moving on, because this could literally take 2 hours or more, depending on what your body needs. So I'm going to take one more breath here. And at this point, I am going to say that you should pause and do the other side of your body before we move on to the next portion. Thank you for joining me, and have a great day. All right, welcome to day 2. Today we're going to focus on the back body in the hips and lower back region. And oftentimes this is where a lot of tension is stored up that we don't realize, just like in the feet, because there are so many small muscles that we're not immediately aware of. So if at any time you need to pause the video so that you can spend a little more time in a certain area, please know that that is perfectly okay. So we're going to use both tennis balls and we're going to lay on top of them. So the easiest way to get where you need to be is to first lay down on your mat with your feet flat on the floor. And I like to begin on my lower back, right about the point where it lines up with my belly button on my front body. Oftentimes this can be a really sensitive portion of your body, so if at any time it doesn't feel like the good kind of sharp sensation, please know that you can move on to a different area of your body that does feel a little bit better. We want this to be a release that is relaxing. So lift up your hips off the ground just enough to bring your tennis balls underneath your body. Position them one on either side of your spine, and then as you exhale, just gently release back down. And depending on the mobility in your spine and how much you need to release in this area, you might be able to bring your hips back down to your mat. You might also find that just holding them slightly above your mat is actually a more acceptable sensation for you right now. So just find a spot and then release down. Again, it's almost as if your breath is an invitation to allow your body to melt around the tennis balls that you're laying on top of. As you lay here and breathe into the points at which you feel this sharp sensation, notice if there are other areas in your body that you're tensing up to make up for the sharp sensation. As you lay here and breathe, if you notice that sensation start to fade away, that is your cue to pick your hips back up, roll your tennis balls down your back towards the back of your hips, and find a new spot to settle in for a few breaths. You also might find that the closer to your glutes you get, you might like to invite some movement in here by shifting your weight from side to side or tilting your pelvic girdle up and down. So you're tilting your hips up and then down, almost as if those tennis balls are serving as a gentle massage for this area along your spine. When you hit certain spots, you might also notice that the sensation actually travels or is referred into other areas of your body. That's not necessarily a bad thing. When we're really tight or we hold a lot of tension, that's actually quite common. But if at any point it's something you're concerned about, you definitely want to seek out some professional opinions on that. Good. So now we are moving down into the glutes. And when we get into this area, there are so many different places to explore. So pick a spot, stay there for a few breaths, and again, as the sensation begins to fade away, that is your cue to move into a different space. And I like to keep my tennis balls symmetrical here on each side, but there are different points both closer to your midline and further out towards the edges of your body for you to explore. So allow your curiosity to take over here and just experiment with where you feel the most nourishing sensation, even if it is sharp. This will guide you to where you need the most release. Feel free to pause the video here and spend as much time as you'd like before we move on to our next section of the video. Thank you for joining me today. Tomorrow we move on to shoulders and neck. All right, here we are at day 3. And today we're going to explore the upper back body And I always like to start at the area right about where the tips of the shoulder blades begin. So it's mid-thoracic spine, pretty much right here. And again, the easiest way to get there is to lay down first. So we're going to make our way onto our backs. And then lift your hips up into a bridge pose so that you can place your tennis balls one on either side of your spine, right about at the end tips of your shoulder blades. And then I like to hold my arms out at my side, but you can bring your arms wherever they're comfortable. And as you exhale, slowly lower your hips down. Depending on how much tension you're releasing right now, your hips may or may not reach back down towards the ground. Mine do not right here. And just breathe into this space. Notice where and how you are feeling the pressure from the tennis balls beneath you. You will obviously feel them at the point of contact, but oftentimes, particularly as we move into the neck and shoulders, it's really common to also feel sensation in other areas of your body. As you lay here and breathe, and as the sensation begins to gently fade away, you can just scoot your body towards your feet to roll the tennis balls an inch or two up your spine towards your neck. So right now I'm at that midpoint in my shoulder blades where they are the wing part where they're kind of closest to each other. So just adjust your body as you see fit and breathe into and through the spaces you feel the sensation. Allow your breath to be a reminder to ease into this, almost as if your body were melting around your tennis balls. Consciously release any other areas in your body that you might be tensing up to counter the sharp sensation the tennis balls beneath you create. This is a really great area to practice this in if you experience a lot of tension headaches, or if you're like me and you toss and turn at night and wake up with all sorts of weird stiffness and pinched nerves. The key is to ease into it gently and really allow your inner body wisdom to guide you to the spaces that feel like they need it the most. It is a sharp sensation, but we don't want it to be super painful or problematic in your body, and you know your body best. So everything I offer is just a guide or a suggestion. We've now moved up our back just a little bit more towards the top of our shoulders, and we're going to continue to do so until we reach that round bony protrusion where your neck and shoulders meet along your spine. When you start to get up into this area, this is also a really good time to begin to explore movement. So you might just explore what it's like to bring your arms up, reaching towards the sky, up over your head and down towards the floor. I really like to cactus my arms, so I pull my elbows down as if I were bringing them down towards my hips. Sometimes there will be a certain area that I want to pause. You can also bring your fingertips to your shoulders and just circle your elbows around. Moving with a quality of gentle slowness, allowing your body to ease into the sharp sensation. We're going to move the tennis balls up our back once more. So now we're closer to the top of our shoulders here. Breathing into this experience, allowing your body to adjust to the new placement of the tennis balls. Easing any tension that is built up or created by the sharp sensation. You might notice as you go through this that there's sudden muscle releases. Things might feel a little crunchy, or you might notice your weight shift as that tension releases. Stay connected to your inner body wisdom here. Breathe through it and really listen about where the most nourishing release might be for you right now in this practice. As we reach the top of our shoulders, you also have the opportunity to move the tennis balls away from your midline out towards your shoulders. So it's almost as if you're using the tennis balls to trace the space around your shoulder blades in your back body. If this is something that you're interested in, you can gently roll to one side, move one tennis ball down the top of your shoulder towards your shoulder joint, and then do the other side. This is done slowly and carefully, as there is oftentimes a lot of tension stored in this part of your body. So the sensation might be especially sharp to begin with. And feel free to explore movement here, whether that's shifting your upper body from side to side to settle into the spaces that could benefit the most, or bringing movement into your arms, just exploring what might allow you to release that tension. We're going to adjust our tennis balls one more time. And now I have moved my tennis balls directly underneath where my shoulder and arm meet on either side. And when I get to this point, I like to hold my arms out at the side and just sweep them in towards my body and then out away from my body. And if this isn't a spot that seems like it needs any release for you, you don't really feel anything, feel free to explore different areas right here on the underside of your arm, and the outer edge of your rib cage right here. Feel free to stay here as long as you want and explore the different spaces, and I will see you tomorrow for Here we are at day 4. Today we are going to explore using a tennis ball for some release along our neck. And then we're also going to explore a couple points on the front body that you might also use this for. So anytime we're working on our neck, the back of our neck, this is a very sensitive part of our body. So we only use one tennis ball and we only work one side at a time. So I'm going to begin with the tennis ball tucked underneath this point right here, kind of on the outer edge of where my neck and shoulder join. So it's to one side of my spine, but it's still tucked underneath me to create a little bit of pressure just laying here. If for some reason you don't feel a whole lot of pressure here, you can always feel free to hold your fingers underneath the tennis ball if you've got that range of motion, or place a folded blanket or towel underneath your neck to help elevate that tennis ball a little bit. But I do want to caution that you ease into this slowly, because again, this section of your neck can be really, really sensitive. And even if you don't feel as sharp of a sensation as you may have in other areas of your body, doesn't mean you're not releasing anything. So with the tennis ball underneath on one side of your neck, either holding it in place or knowing that it'll stay there on its own, you're just going to breathe through rotating your head from side to side. So you look towards the shoulder on the side of your body that has the tennis ball. And then you bring your head back to center. I tend to only bring it back to center, but you can also explore what it might be like to look over the opposite shoulder. Depending on how and where in your neck you store tension, different sorts of movement will feel nourishing, and it might also be different from side to side. So as you continue to turn your head from side to side, as you notice the sensation begin to fade away, or if you reach a point where you feel like you have released enough tension there, you will just gradually roll the tennis ball an inch at a time up the back of your neck on one side of your spine. And when I hit the midpoint here, where there is the most curve in this part of your spine, in the back of your neck, I do have to hold my tennis ball in place because it tends to roll away. Breathing into the sensation and checking in from time to time to notice if you're storing tension anywhere else in your body to make up for this. So we continue on in this manner until we get to the top of our neck, just underneath the round bony protrusions at the base of your skull. These are called our occipits, and oftentimes, at least for me, this is where the most sensation occurs when I'm at the back of my neck. And the key here, because we are often, when we work on myofascial release, whether it's with a tennis ball or a foam roller or anything else, because it is such a sharp sensation, and with that release of the muscle fibers comes a lot of flushing out in our system, we want to ease into it gently and slowly. It's not something we want to do too fast. And we always want to remain connected to the experience in our bodies so that we can be aware of any cues our inner body wisdom is sending us about what is or is not nourishing or providing an opportunity for healthy release. When you reach the top of your neck, feel free to move into the other side in the same manner. So beginning at that point where your neck and shoulder meet, just to the side of your spine in the back of your neck. And once more, just working on gently turning your head to the side and bringing it back to center or over towards the other shoulder. As you move through this, particularly if you pause and lengthen out the myofascial release practice is longer than the video is, you might notice that you become really thirsty. It is very, very common for your body to flush out the chemicals that are being released with this, so it's really important to drink lots of water to assist your body in that. Mom was right, water helps. All right, let's move up a little bit further. And if at any time this is moving too fast, feel free to pause the video and take your time. Oftentimes when I come down to my mat for my yoga practice, I end up laying here with my tennis balls for several minutes or hours longer than I intended to, because sometimes this is where the practice is. Sometimes we just need to release some of that. I'm going to roll the tennis ball up to that point at the base of my skull, just under my occiput, and spend just 1 or 2 more breath cycles here. Again, this is where most of my tension tends to be stored in my neck, so I oftentimes will start to move a lot slower through this area. Good. Let's take 1 more breath here. Gently and carefully return to center. And we're going to focus on some points at which we can use these tennis balls in our front body in areas where we release a lot of tension. So I'm going to use 2 tennis balls for this portion. We're going to come on to our front body. So before I lay down, I'm gonna show you where the points are so that you can really focus on what you're experiencing instead of looking at the camera. So the first one is in the front chest right here, just over your pecs. And depending on where your tension is, it might be closer out towards your shoulders or more in towards your center line. And the other point is right in front of your hips, where your hip flexors are, and in your low belly. There's a lot of smaller muscles in here where we tend to store up a lot of tension. And if you spend a lot of your time sitting or if you're a runner or or somebody who does something that keeps you in forward motion, a lot of times the muscles in our front body are spent kind of going like this, almost like we're curling in on ourselves. So let's come down to our front body, and we're going to start up here at the top, and I'm only going to do one side for right now. I want you to feel free to pause and do the second side after I finish walking you through this. But if you place the tennis balls just under your chest and bring your arms out to either side, you also have the option to do one side at a time here, and as you lay down onto your tennis ball, you can also lift or roll the other side of your body up to create a rocking motion to kind of help that tennis ball really hit all of those points in your front body that need that release. So stay here for several breaths until you feel that sensation begin to fade away. Again, feeling free to pause the video here to take your time. And then when you're ready, we'll restart the video and do the front of our hips. So if you're ready to do the front of your hips, there are two different ways to do this. You can lay on your mat just as we did when we did the pectoralis and the front of our chest, or you can stay in child's pose. So to do child's pose, you would come and sit on your heels in a position like this and bring the tennis balls to that point right where your upper body and your legs meet. And as you exhale, fold forward, holding those tennis balls in place until you reach a point where they're naturally going to stay. I like to stack my hands and then rest my forehead on my hands and breathe into the spaces where you feel the contact between your body and the tennis balls. And just as we did in our back body, if you notice that you're at a spot that doesn't feel like it needs much release or that sensation begins to fade away, that would be your cue to gently reset the tennis balls into a new space. And if you would rather do this laying flat on your mat, you would do the same thing, just not with your knees tucked underneath you. So you would lay down, and then I like to shift from side to side when I lay on my belly to do this. And just hold and breathe into the spaces where you are noticing the sharpest sensation here. Allowing your breath to be the reminder to your body that even though this is a sharp sensation, it is not presenting any danger, and it is okay to release and relax around the points of contact with the tennis ball, as well as any other spaces in your body that may be tensing up to make up for the sharp sensation. We're going to take one more big breath here. And then when you're ready, gently release the tennis balls. Take a few moments to just check in with your body as you set your tennis balls aside. You may notice that you feel as if they are still there. And as you breathe through that, you'll notice that sensation begin to slowly fade away. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Ooh, balls.